down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive, this is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I am your host, Mual, Jamal Force, in here with the fellas, Dre, AJ. On this Good Tuesday, man. Good Tuesday for us. We got a lot to talk about, or plenty to talk about. Before I check in with the gang, let's get the administrative items out of the way. If you are new to the YouTube, man, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate y'all checking in. If you like the content, so hit that subscribe button. Like as well, we definitely appreciate that. On the audio side, man, if you are new, make sure you hit that follow button, get us with a rating review. We definitely appreciate that. We are doing call-ins. It's an open show, man. So let's get our spills off. But you are more than welcome to hit the link in the YouTube description. If you want to be a part of the conversation, anything that comes to mind related to the Commanders, man, tap in. We are taking your calls today. And if there's something wrong with the description or the link in the description, just let me know. But I'm sure I put it in there and saved it, so it should be in there. I'm gonna double check now that I kind of I'm a little sketchy about it now. But fellas, what's going on, man? Dre, AJ, how y'all feeling, bro?
Good, bro. We got an official roster, and in fact, I believe this is our last show of the offseason. Next week when we doing this show, we getting ready for a game. So I'm ready, bro.
Last show of the offseason, dog.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I just need somebody to hold my damn neck.
Oh, bro, I saw that story. What was it? It's still bothering you?
Bruh, yesterday I woke up, I sneezed, and all of a sudden the right side of my body, upperwise, has just been on fire. Like my neck is like a bobblehead, bro. Like, I don't know. But I read like you can sneeze yourself into like a herniated disc or something like that.
Damn.
In your neck or something. But I ain't sneezed that home. Like, Lord, I'm getting
washed up here. You done went to the depths of Google, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, let me log off, but yeah. So I mean, I'm straight, man. But my neck, if I just disappear off camera a couple times, that's because I got stress in my neck. No diddy.
A neck brace.
I was about to say, where the neck brace at, bro? Just keep the joint like stay.
I ain't even go to the doctor or nothing about it, but
you about to thug it out.
Yeah,
I respect it. I look. Sometimes you gotta do it in some instances, bro. I respect it. Thug it out, then, dog. Take an ibuprofen or two. You know what I'm saying, if you got some, you know. All right. Roster cuts. I hope y'all heard Dan Quinn, by the way, if he spoke. Well, I know he spoke at 4:30. I'm gonna try and tap into some quotes, but I've been kind of on the move today, so I'm gonna make sure I do some tracking while we're doing the show. But some cuts have happened. They had to trim it down by 4 o'clock. They did just that. Some surprises in some areas. I'll start there. I'll stop there. Excuse me. I'll give y'all the floor. I don't think there was like a huge one. I think if there was terms of like a noise made, I think you think about Martavis Bryant in terms of like who people wanted to make the roster. You think about KJ Henry, who was surprisingly like a local media favorite. That they were surprised he got cut. That was probably one of the bigger ones that drew attention. And I mean, I don't know just if I met Kaz Allen, Cole Turner. All right, so there's a few names now that I'm jogging my memory. All right, I'll give y'all the floor, man. What y'all thinking about these cuts?
I mean, I'm not really surprised by anybody that was cut. I don't think anybody that was cut was good anyways. No one that was going to push your team to a level of excellence or winning. Can't necessarily speak for their locker room presence, but not really surprised by anything. Like you said, I guess he's become a media darling over the past couple of weeks, KJ Henry. But I mean, y'all know my name for him on this show, Stuntman.
Yeah,
That
I
that
actually
that
like that
man
nickname though. I ain't gonna
that
lie to
that
you, I like
man
that.
that man has no pass rush moves. So uh, I'm not surprised by him getting cut. Um, yeah, I think there's some guys that were released that will be on this practice squad, particularly Martavis Bryant, especially with the fact that week one they're going against someone with his similar body type and a Mike Evans that you're going to want to replicate within game planning. I expect him to make the practice squad. Uh, Kaz Allen, I don't think that anyone is going to pick him up on waivers. That's another guy. But outside of that, you just realize like this team just lacked talent overall. And it's bad that out of 7 draft picks from the 2023 class, starting with the 3rd round pick and down, none of those guys survived this roster the following year.
Yeah,
Wait,
and
run that last part back. You said what was the
So
last part?
so essentially the 2023 class, out of the 7 picks, there's only 2 remaining on the roster, which is Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin.
Oh
Starting
yeah,
with the 3rd round pick, Ricky Strongberg is no longer on the team.
yeah,
Braden Daniels is no longer on the team. Andre Jones, KJ Henry, and Chris Rodriguez.
yeah. Okay.
They all didn't make the cut the following year.
yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest takeaways. I mean, but like I said, we knew from Adam Peters kind of how they felt about this roster, and they're just kind of purging through the Ron Rivera draft picks. But it is really an indictment when you talk about the last year's class. Like damn near the whole class has gone in 1 year. I mean, it's not 2 years, it's not 3 years, literally 1 year. And then you got one of those picks who probably could be a cut candidate next year if he's not showing something this year, and that's Emmanuel Forbes. So it was really bad drafting. But I mean, as far as today, I mean, it wasn't really, too many surprising cuts. I think for me, the thing that stood out was how the defense is kind of constructed now. As I kind of go through the defense, one of the things that stood out to me was all of the safeties they kept. Initially, I was like, oh man, they kept 7 safeties, but then I was kind of reading some things and I realized that I think they're playing Dominique Hampton, the draft pick they got this
Yeah,
year,
linebacker.
Yeah, so I mean,
So
and that's one of the
technicalities is 6 safeties, but
right. But he's going to be one of those guys kind of playing the hybrid role, and that's kind of how I looked at the defensive end spot. Like when you kind of look at the defensive end spot, you look at like really 3 guys there: Clellan Ferrell, Dorrance Armstrong, and Javante
Javante,
Baptiste.
yeah,
Yes, so those 3 guys. But then you got to look at the linebacker group, and some guys are going to be kind of playing that hybrid linebacker / edge spot, and like Jamin Davis and Dante Fowler. But is the defense as a whole right now looks like they're just going to be kind of playing some hybrid role, So that's one of the things that kind of stood out to me. Offensively, I did think they were going to keep Martavis Bryant. I thought he was going to make the team. I thought he showed enough, at least in that last game, to make the team, with his size, and he played with that chip on his shoulder, and just how the guys responded to his touchdown that he had in that game. Kaz Allen was another guy. I mean, I wasn't surprised that Kaz didn't make it, but I felt like Kaz was a guy that really wanted to make it, but he just didn't give them a real reason to kind of justify putting him on the roster. So, that leaves you with Byron Pringle, I believe, kind of grabbing that last spot, which is uninspired. We've seen Byron Pringle with this team last year. You don't think he can, well, at least me, in my opinion, I don't think he can add much to the back end of that group. But then again, who knows what Martavis Bryant or Kaz Allen is adding to that either. Like, it's not much impact at the back end of that spot. What we do know is that Washington needs to upgrade. Probably the biggest surprise, and I think everybody would be kind of surprised to tell you, Colson Yankoff making the team. I mean, we knew Cole Turner had a rough off season in a sense, and I kind of figured they were going to move on for him, but I didn't think they were going to go 4 tight ends. So Colson Yankoff was the guy that surprised, and the last one for me was Michael Wiley. I did think he was going to grab that last running back spot. Wasn't surprised to see Chris Rodriguez go, or Austin Jones, the other guy they had. But Jeremy McNichols, I know he was the guy they wanted going into this offseason to kind of grab that spot, but I thought Michael Wiley had kind of surpassed him. So who knows? But overall, nothing really groundbreaking when you look at the cuts. Just kind of, for me, the interesting thing, again, was the construction of the defense and how they plan to use a lot of those hybrid spots.
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, let me actually. I think Colson Yankoff. It's a couple of things that y'all said. Like Colson Yankoff. is a person. Now we're talking about tight end number 4. I don't know what his role is going to be outside of special teams. I think that they're comfortable with those top 3 guys. AJ, I remember like you reminded me that Zach Ertz was coming off an ACL injury in 2022, and one of my thoughts was like, I didn't know. Well, first off, oh Lord, I may end up posting that route that Cole Turner ran, that corner route, bro, because I can't shake that. But like when I think about
might have got a
cut, bro, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, bro, when I seen him run that corner route, bro, I was like, son, ain't no way you can make the roster after that, bro. But respect anyway. Point being, Colson Yankoff, I don't know what his role is going to be just yet. Like he is a raw tight end. I think he came in at running back in terms of actually playing. I think quarterback then running back or something like that. I don't remember exactly how it went. But he was definitely at running back at one point, and then now playing tight end. And obviously, from the position itself, like you're kind of fresh in terms of how many reps you got at the tight end spot. I can see special teams out of him. I do want to have a conversation about receiver, but I'll spin the block on that one. Because a lot of people disagree with me, which is fine. It's perfectly fine with that. Keeping 3 running backs. With Kaz, that was a conversation that we thought, right? But I'm not surprised because we didn't talk after the preseason game against the Patriots. But one of our things was, and one of my things was actually, I think they wanted him on the roster. And I think that he had I think if he had a good game and not like a bad game, he would have had a roster spot. And I think they wanted that for him because of what they saw in him. But like, not only did he not have a good game, like he had an ineffective game. Like it wasn't bad. It was literally like they kicked the ball out of the end zone. And opportunities that he got, he just wasn't able to make nothing shake. So like he didn't make any mistakes, but he really didn't make an impact either. So it's like your opportunities, as many as we gave you, just wasn't there for you. So I think that's a person, as AJ said, is probably going to be back on the practice squad. Same with Martavis Bryant. I think that's the guy that they think is going to be back. I'm not too sure about Bryson Tremaine. But at the same time, you got to kind of see how everything unfolds with in terms of like the waiver wire and even poaching people from other practice squads when they finally set this whole thing up. I think that Bryson is somebody that they're familiar with, but at the same time, we're talking about a person who, again, like in preseason, you finished the preseason with like 3 catches for like 18 yards. For all of the conversation that people had about your training camp practices, respectfully, like I seen it last year. I seen a couple of them, a couple catches this year. Like you make some tough catches, but like in games, like you're struggling from an athletic standpoint, separating. You just got hands, and that's good. But you just got hands. That's it. Like you ain't making a difference. In that sense, Javonte John Baptiste is a person who I thought was developing, pretty well actually. Like I think it was the Jets game where I saw him have this run rush move. And like how he just moved across the defensive line altogether and against the runner and the pass, where I thought he was a fluid athlete. Like I was like, I noted number 90 because I didn't know his name. I mean, I didn't really get familiar with the name at the time. I knew who he was, but like I was like, all right, let me just put a note down for him. But then like a couple more notes came in, and I was like, all right, this is a person that I actually like. And I think that Jean Baptiste was clearly good enough from the coaching staff to like see we can keep him on the roster as a depth piece, and maybe he can get like 5 to 10 reps a game. But that's a person that we don't want to get knocked down to a practice squad or expose them to waivers. So I think that was a really good story for Javonte, obviously a 7th round draft pick too. And I remember the story coming out of Notre Dame where like he was a pretty raw edge rusher or edge defender in that aspect. So good for him. Ridgeway was on the trade block. So was Cole Turner. They ended up cutting Cole. They kept John Ridgeway. They also kept 2 of the same body types in John and Phil. So I wonder, I don't know if that story is done there. Like I don't know if they're trying to stash somebody on the practice squad or not. I'm not too sure. But they kept Phil and John. So that's going to be interesting to see if they're going to keep both of those on the final 53 or I guess the final 53.
Mo, there were reports earlier that they were trying to trade Ridgeway, so that could still be a thing that's on the table. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they're gonna get any trade offers from John. I ain't gonna lie to you, but more so like I think they may try to get him on the practice squad. I don't know. But I do think that was interesting that they were trying to trade one of them, and I think they chose Ridgeway to float Ridgeway out there because they probably felt like he can offer more to a team. I'm not sure, but I did think that in the game against the Patriots, Phil always had these pass rush moves. I just don't think that he was effective in the NFL because of the fact that people are quicker. And also like people are just as strong as you. But like the way he uses his hands as a pass rusher is something that John Ridgeway really doesn't do. And I think that the way he showed that against the Patriots, I'm not saying that he's going to be special or that he is something that is good right now, but I feel like when you flash something like that from the coaches that you're working with now, I think that that's something that they can buy into because not only are you a threat in the run game, but maybe we can use you in those 3rd-and-1s or 3rd-and-2s or 4th-and-1 and 4th-and-2s where we can probably get a quick win from our nose tackle or our one tech. I don't know. But that's thinking far too long down the line. 5 cornerbacks. Ben St. Juste, Emmanuel Forbes. That's looking like your outside guys, bro. Or because I don't know how they feel about Michael Davis just yet, bro. I obviously know what Igbanagi, that's their slot guy. I actually thought that what's his name was gonna make the roster. Who's the other guy, that cornerback?
Oh,
that I was liking.
Castro Fields.
No, Chiguzi Anusium.
Yeah, practice squad candidate.
Yeah, practice squad candidate. I thought they would have been interested in him, but they decided to cut him. So they got 5 cornerbacks on the roster. But it also still makes sense because with those safeties, you have Quan Martin who can play in the slot, Jeremy Chin who can play in the slot, Percy Butler can play in the slot. Like you can kind of get a little more versatile with your safety situation and your cornerback situation. So like 11 DBs, somebody mentioned hybrid in the chat, but your 11 DBs can ultimately play in so many different positions. So I think they're going to do a lot of mixing and matching, like y'all said too.
Plus another thing I just want to remind people of the 53 is very fluid. A lot can change before now, and the first game of the season, I think you just gotta be patient and weigh it out. There's gonna be players that's gonna be added, whether it be via waiver wire, getting signed veteran wise, depending on if they feel like they got a need. Because this is around the time like the guys like the Xavier Howards or whoever, Adoree Jackson that's been sitting out there. They typically get signed and they might get their contract guaranteed. So yeah, I just think Maul, like you said, some of those guys within that safety room, within that safety room, they definitely have that versatility of being able to play nickel. So I don't think Noah and even Michael Davis, their jobs are all the way safe, and a couple of these safeties either. I just think it depends on who they're able to possibly get a claim on. One of those guys to keep an eye out on is Caleb Fairley, 2021 first round draft pick out of Virginia Tech. He's a corner that fits perfectly as far as like skill set wise and his size and what they want to do, but that all boils down to Carolina puts in a claim before they do, whatever the case. But I think that room still has a possibility of changing before we get into Tampa week 1.
Now, can I ask y'all a question? With Jamin Davis, he obviously made the team, but Jamin played damn near the whole game that last preseason game. Do y'all think that was a case of they wanted to see something else or see something more out of Jamin, or do you just think it was simply a case of he just still needs the reps at the edge rusher spot?
I think Jamin Davis. I'm surprised they didn't put out a tweet that he's someone that was on the trading block. I think maybe a team might be interested in him from a linebacker standpoint. Yeah, I guess let's say if you're KJ Henry, you're probably like, damn, Jamin made the team over me. Like that's probably how you feel if you are his teammate.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Just to keep it a buck, but maybe there might be some trade interest for him at the linebacker position. I'm not really buying into Jamin Davis, whatever. I expect him to possibly be inactive if he does remain on the 53. because I just don't know what I could really do with him week in and week out in a game that'd be beneficial, whether it be even on special teams. There's nothing of reward there. But like you said, Dre, I did notice he was playing until pretty much the last minutes of the fourth quarter. So I don't really know. I think it's just interesting overall. But if I'm KJ Henry, I'm probably pissed at my crib, packing up my boxes like, you gotta be kidding me.
Now it is a little crazy though, bro. I do think like to take that leap because you're thinking about who is it? You got Dorrance, Cleveland, Jamin, and Javante. Two people who are severely inexperienced in terms of like NFL reps as edge rushers, and John and Jamin, or Javante, excuse me, Javante and Jamin. And Jamin is still like in his development stage. Like obviously he possesses some traits, and he has a familiarity with the NFL game itself. So in terms of like offensive linemen, run schemes, run fits, things like that. But I feel like KJ was a smart player too. I feel like, and I think part of the story and why he was such a big name, or in terms of big name in terms of the media, right? Was because of the concept that they thought, or they alleged, or maybe even just gave leeway to the fact that they were just getting rid of Ron Rivera players. And KJ falls under that umbrella. But I also think that like if you're moving KJ, like it's either Jamin, who was another Rivera pick, like so gotta think about that, or they was thinking KJ wasn't better than Javante. I don't know. But at the same time, I think that maybe they felt because of Johnny, or somebody mentioned it in the chat, maybe because Johnny was a person who maybe on the pup or IR, I don't know, to start the season. I'm guessing maybe he just won't be available to start the season. They figured they can bring somebody like KJ on the practice squad and bring him up whenever Johnny Newton is back, and they can get rid of one of the defensive tackles. I have no idea. I know you asked about Jamin. I don't think it matters, bro, because he made the roster. I don't think that was a tryout in a sense. Because I don't think nothing was going to change from week 2 of the preseason to week 3. But I do think something else is interesting too. I didn't even notice this. We had all that conversation about the quarterback position, right? They ended up keeping all 3 of them. Jeff Driscoll made the initial 53. Obviously they cut Hartman. But I was actually, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was a little surprised that they used a spot on Jeff.
I think that's because the NFLPA and the NFL, they came to agreement of not having the emergency quarterback rule like how it used to be. So essentially, you couldn't just like duck away this emergency quarterback and call him up. Yeah, they changed that rule last week, maybe even a couple days ago. So I think that's probably what led into Driscoll making the 53. It's like, hey, you'll be inactive on game day, but we can't necessarily like duck you away like how we thought we would be able to do within the context of the rules.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And on top of that, I think Mariota has shown that he really can't stay that healthy. So you don't know if you have a reliable backup in the sense of availability. And as AJ said, now you have that rule that they went back to pre-COVID times where you can't elevate a guy from the practice squad. Like, the third emergency quarterback has to be fit on the 53-man roster. So, and Jeff Driscoll, to be honest with you, I mean, yeah, he had some rough moments in that last preseason game. But I thought overall, this whole offseason throughout preseason, I mean, he showed pretty well for a backup quarterback, almost to the point where, I caught some flack for this before, but to the point where, if there was a competition or open competition for QB2, he would have really pushed Marcus Mariota, especially because Marcus Mariota wasn't available. So, I think they kept him for that reason as well. That was kind of a reward in a sense, but also to AJ's point, you got rid of that rule, so you don't have that emergency luxury anymore to just elevate a guy from the practice squad.
2 things, just a quick comment, and then we're gonna get to the receiver room. I meant to mention, I am proud and very satisfied that they did cut Anthony Pittman. I
was gonna mention that too.
I don't understand what, bro. I lie to you not, bro. Like, I'm not making this up. Like, I swear people was talking about Anthony Pittman going into the Jets game as like this number 2 linebacker or number 3, somebody who can play a good reserve role for this team. And when I seen him on the jump, bro, he missed tackle standing still. I'm like, bro, who is this dude, bro? But anyway, it just never got better throughout the preseason. So that's one thing. Receiver group. So you finish with after all the conversation about Martavis Bryant, Bryson Tremaine, who are the other guys that we're thinking of that was in the conversation early on? Oh, Kaz Allen, obviously. Mitchell Tinsley was kind of a faint option. Like, he was last year, it was a strong chance. Now, like this year, I never really thought he had a really good chance. But anyway, you have where are they at? Terry, Diami, Olamide, Luke, Byron Pringle, and Jamison Crowder. I think Jamison was also a name that throughout our weeks of preseason leading up into the roster cuts, we wasn't saying out of our mouths. We wasn't really mentioning Jamison Crowder, but he ends up making the cut. And I think it was more so evident on the game day where he didn't even dress. So I think that's probably one of their punt return guys. My question to everybody in the chat. Also, by the way, if you all want to call in, the link for the YouTube. Oh, I do see somebody trying to call in. Yeah. You got to check the YouTube description. So the YouTube description gives you the StreamYard link. So it's right there. You just got to click that link and you're good. Okay. So my question to everybody in the chat, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. How are we feeling about the receiver group position now? This is also kind of a repetitive question. But I just wanted to kind of get this out the way because this is my thought, right? And y'all know how I feel because we're all on this. Well, I mean, I don't know how Dre feels anymore, but we can kind of revisit it right now. But y'all know I had several question marks for this receiver group, right? But when you have Terry McLaurin on this roster and you have Terry McLaurin at your receiver group position, I think that people have lost perspective, and it took me some time to get here. Like, I really had to think about like how bad or how decent. I'm not gonna say how good, how bad or how decent this receiver group position is. I don't think that is good. Point blank, period. Right? I stopped there. I think that people have lost perspective of what bad looks like, and the reason why I think that, bro, I look at other positions. I look at other receiver groups across the league over the years with, at the time, top tier quarterbacks, right? Or offenses that has solid reputations under Andy Reid. Like, who was the receiver group for the Kansas City Chiefs before Tyreek Hill got there? They had Jeremy Maclin and a bunch of nobodies. And Jeremy Maclin was never considered number 1 receiver, right? These are just examples I'm shooting off. I'm not necessarily trying to make a point. I'm more so trying to provide. Well, I am trying to make a point, but I'm just trying to provide perspective. Like, there was no number 1 receiver group. No number 1 receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs before Tyreek Hill got there. They still won 10, 11 games with Andy Reid because they had so many other things going for them. Last 2022, right before Aaron Rodgers went to New York, bro, there was no number 1 receivers on that group. There was no number 2 receivers on that group. Alan Lazard was your number 1 receiver, and he would be number 1, number 3 in so many different offenses. They went 8-9 that year. They got bounced by the Detroit Lions in the winner go home game for them, and Detroit took them out. But they had nobody on that roster at that point, bro. I think about there's a couple other spots that's not on the top of my head at this point. Kansas City Chiefs in 2023 when they won the Super Bowl before Rashee Rice got his name out there, right, for a 8-game stretch. They have nobody on their roster. Like, perspective wise, that is what F grade, D grade position groups look like. And I think from a perspective,
you could add the Ravens into that group as well before last year, like Lamar Jackson.
Before last year, I really like their receiver group last year. So the Ravens is another example. So when I say what poor position groups look like, that's what I think of when I say poor, like not good at all. And the offense or the defense or a combination of both, along with the quarterback and the coordinator, makes it work. And I'm not sitting here saying, again, I think if I had to grade it, I said C plus, and that was me being on the generous side. But I think it's C plus because of Terry McLaurin. I think everybody else is serviceable, but I said C plus grade for this position group because of Terry McLaurin. And I think there are several other question marks, especially with De'Ami Brown being your projected number 2 at this point because they cut Jahan Dotson. But I just think that from a perspective standpoint, we've lost perspective of what poor looks like. I think you can't have a top 25 receiver in the NFL on your roster and sit here and say that this is a D or F grade position group. I just can't see that.
I know AJ wants to say something.
Yeah, I mean,
at least acknowledge I made a good point, bro.
You did.
I hear what you're saying, Maul, but every team that you mentioned as an example has an elite quarterback. So going into a rookie season with Jaden Daniels, you have no clue what he ultimately is going to be. I think we all are on the optimistic side when it comes to Jaden Daniels. We think that he's going to be good, but those guys of those prospective teams that you mentioned, such as a Aaron Rodgers, a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, they have been in the league and established for some time and acclimated with the game and the speed of the game to go alongside with the fact that maybe they may not have had the best wide receiver group, but some of them even had elite tight ends and Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and so on, right? With Washington, the particular room, if we needed to give it a grade, since you said C plus, it is D for doo-doo. Like, I don't care if Terry McLaurin is there. I just seen Louis Riddick tweet this over the weekend. He said the second most important position in the NFL game today is the wide receiver position. If we look around the league, teams are going about getting 2 to 3 solid quality wide receivers. We just did a trade. When I say we, Washington, they just did a trade with the Commanders to go get Jahan Dotson to pair with 2 of their 25 plus wide receiver, 25 plus million per year wide receivers, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Like the guy that has been there as their number 3 all season, well, all off season, Paris Campbell just got released today, and Jahan's already taken his place as the number 3. So when you're trouting out Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, De'Ami Brown, Byron Pringle, Jamison Crowder, that just sounds so ass of me even saying out of my mouth as a wide receiver room for the season. When you're bringing out those guys, if you're a Washington fan, whatever religion you believe in, you have to be praying super hard on Sundays that nothing happens to Terry. Not even just Sunday, 7 days out the week. You hope if he goes to Wegmans, Shoppers, Starbucks, 7-Eleven, Wawa, Sheets for his gas, that he doesn't trip, nothing happens to him at all, because you are in the worst position you could be in regards to that wide receiver room. And we already know, like, the stigma behind Cliff Kingsbury not moving wide receivers around, stuff like that. It's just a scary thing when it comes to Jaden Daniels and his possible development as far as year one and the lack of weapons that he has. Like, Terry's cool, but Terry's also not a route runner. Like, Terry's a 50-50 ball type guy. Like, you genuinely do not have a route runner in that wide receiver room at all currently.
Now, before you, I think there's several different pieces of the argument that's important. I agree with AJ that if Terry goes down, that's a problem. But I think we got to look at it for what we have right now. Like, I think because if the whole conversation is what does Terry bring to this team, and how does other receivers benefit off it, or how does these other receivers complement Terry? Like, I think it goes hand in hand. Like the conversation of what if Terry gets hurt eliminates the idea of what these guys can do around Terry, or as a direct result of Terry being on the football field with them. And I think that's kind of the one thing that I would say, like, as we're responding or thinking about this, I think that's a separate conversation and a valid conversation, right?
But Mark, we've seen Pringle, Crowder, De'Ami, all in this system or not in this system, I
No.
should say, but around Terry. We've seen them around Terry. Like Diami Brown had 12 catches for the entire season last year around Terry, and they passed the ball at the highest clip in the league. Like we've
I mean,
seen a lot of these guys
but
already
we know
in
how faulty of an
conjunction with
argument
Terry.
that. But we know how faulty of an argument that is, given who. Like, all right, put it this way: how do you extrapolate it when you think about what the offense looked like what the offense looked like, and these receivers, what they look like when Jacoby Brissett was in the game, and they were running the same offense compared to what the receivers look like with Sam Howell or any other quarterback in the game with Bieniemy in the offense. Like that's the difference that you'd have to look at. You can't look at the entire season and say we've seen this. We haven't seen this with a functional quarterback who can really distribute the football like the way that Jacoby did last year. So like, what did it look like exactly when Jacoby was in the game, and what did it look like exactly when Sam Howell was in the game? And all I'm saying is the offense looked fluid, and we still didn't have nobody out there that people respected outside of Terry. That's what I'm saying. Or that's my counter. That's what I should say.
Look, I mean, for me, the group, if you're looking at it on paper right now, yes, I mean, the group is underwhelming. I mean, Terry is the only thing right now keeping this group from an F to a C. Like you can probably make the argument that the group is around a C minus at this point, and Terry is keeping that group afloat. So
that's literally all I'm saying, bro.
Yeah,
D for doo-doo. D for doo-doo.
No, I mean, like
D for doo-doo.
I mean, it's close to a D. It's honestly, it's hard to argue against AJ at this point. Because right now, this wide receiver group kind of hinges on two things. I mean, you know what you're going to get out of Terry. Now, it's two guys in this group, and that's Diami and it's Luke McCaffrey. Diami, is he ready to be an NFL wide receiver this year? I mean, by all accounts, from everything we've seen this offseason,
they sure shit gambling on him.
That's what I'm saying. He might be making that step, but we can't say right now that he's going to make that step, and we can't say right now that this wide receiver group is going to be decent or even good because of Diami Brown. They're hinging on the potential with Diami Brown, and the same thing goes for Luke McCaffrey. We don't know what Luke McCaffrey can do. We just drafted Luke McCaffrey, and he was a third-round pick. Some people would even call him a project, so to speak, but I think the team probably is going to go trot him out week one as a slot wide receiver. So this wide receiver group can either be a B or it could be a D for doodoo, as AJ says. So, but it depends. To me, it depends on those two guys. But as of right now, it's hard to argue against AJ's point. But I do get what you're saying, Mual.
Look, man. I just want to see where y'all's head was at. I don't want to get people confused with the idea that I think that this receiver room is being great. I want to reiterate perspective. I think that there was some for people to sit here and say that Terry's on his roster and you have a D or F grade at the position group, just a little different to me. I don't think that you can have that with Terry on the roster. Big E, I see you. Let's go ahead and bring.
I think you're saying like they can make up for the lack thereof of a definitive number two. That's all I heard. That's how I interpret it.
I don't disagree. Yeah, that's how I round out. That's how I'm rounding out my point. Is that they can make up for it. I think that the floor for this receiver group is higher than people assume, and which is why I got people saying that every single player in this position group outside of Terry is an F, and I'm like how, bro? Like, and also I want to acknowledge I may be biased. I told people this too. Like I may be biased because I had to scout Olamide Zaccheaus, and I had to scout Byron Pringle. So I know these guys far more than some of the people who are sitting here suggesting that this group is trash. And that's probably also where I'm like, I know if these guys had more opportunities, you would see something different from what their previous season suggests, which is telling everybody statistically they ain't did shit. I know that. But I think that if you had them with the more opportunities, you probably see a little bit different. Which is why I think the floor is higher. Not necessarily that they suck. I mean that they're great players, but I just think the floor is higher.
And let me just add to this too. Now, I don't know if you all count this, but one of the a weapon I know AJ mentioned in one of his points was that a lot of these other teams have the tight ends, or they had some elite tight ends. Washington does have a guy that's known for catching passes, and he's not a receiver, but Austin Eckler. You got to wonder how much he's going to factor into this offense. Now, he doesn't help the
I
wide
forgot.
receiver
Yeah,
group,
that's
so
a
to
good
speak,
point.
but Austin Eckler is going to be catching a lot of passes out of the backfield. So that's going to help Jaden Daniels in a sense. But again, that doesn't help the wide receivers because he's not listed as a wide receiver, and he won't be splitting out wide as those guys will. But that's something to consider when you're talking about Jaden Daniels' weapons as Austin Eckler.
Hey, by the way, I don't know where you went, Brad, but if you want to call back in, go ahead. I was about to add you up to the list. Anybody that wants to call in, you can definitely do that now. Check the YouTube description link, and you can join us. You can chop it up with us. It's an open show. All right, so I see Big E now. He joined back up. Let's go ahead and get Big E on the show. And boom. All right, there we go. What's going on, big dog?
What's happening, guys? How you doing?
Good, brother. How you
Doing all
feeling?
right, man. How you feeling?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good.
All right, talk to us a little bit, man. What's on your mind, bro?
Yeah, so the wide receiver room, I know it's a lot of questions around it. I'm kind of agree with y'all. It's kind of like a B right now. At best floor, I mean, the floor maybe like a C minus, but I think we got some talent.
You said at best. You said at best a C minus.
No, at worst like a C minus.
At worst a C minus. And what'd you say at best? Because it was lagging a little bit, so I just missed it.
Yeah. At best, I mean, I can see it being a B plus. I mean, I think if Jaden comes out and plays like as advertised, that these guys will be better than what we're thinking, including Terry, Zacchaeus, everybody. But I think maybe this year they'll put the offense more around, because we got Eckler and B Rob. So I mean, you got two sleeper receivers right there, and then I'm high on Ben Sinnott, and then you got Zach Ertz as well. I was a bit shocked at them because I hadn't really heard anything about him. So I don't know if they're going to do more like a two tight end set with one maybe being more of a blocker, one's dipping out, being a receiver. But I think we got more pass catchers outside the receiving room than what everybody's thinking, and I don't hear anybody saying anything about that besides Eckler. So I think if they get those guys involved, I think I'm not so worried about the receiver room in general because we have a lot of other pieces as well. I mean, I could easily see Ben Sinnott, Zach Ertz, either one of them having around 80, 90 yards any given night.
Big E, we appreciate you calling in and giving your commentary. But yeah, I think Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson can be productive within this scheme as far as out the backfield. We even seen in the opening preseason game against the Jets.
That hurt, PC. I ain't gonna lie to
When
you.
Austin
Yeah, my
Eckler,
bad. My connection's bad. I'm sorry.
yeah, when Austin Eckler,
yeah, no, I just think we have overall in general. I think we have a lot more pieces than expected. So I'm real optimistic. I mean, as long as we protect the quarterback, I think Jaden's going to make these guys better than what people are probably thinking.
But see, Biggie, I think the biggest issue is, I mean, and you could be right, but the issue at this point right now is a lot of these guys are question marks. Just as I mentioned Diami and I mentioned Luke McCaffrey, Zach Ertz is another question mark because we honestly at this point in his career don't know what he can bring to the table. He can still bring something, but we don't know that right now. I mean, it's probably safer to assume that his better days are much past him. But then again, we could be wrong. But see, that's the issue with projecting right now, and is everything's more of a question mark when it comes to the weapons that Jaden Daniels has at his disposal. Now, he could go out and elevate them. He could be that franchise guy that we obviously kind of think he is at this point. But he could be that guy that goes out there and elevates all of these guys. But as of right now, it's hard to argue for the weapons at this point because so many question marks with a couple of these guys outside of like Terry.
Oh, for sure, no doubt. I mean, on paper, I wish we were a little better. But I think what's tough too is this team has probably had so many holes they need to fill. I mean, we just saw CD Lamb get paid. Well, he's got a 4-year, $175 million contract. I mean, I don't know how much longer these guys keep on getting paid more and more until they start increasing the money for the teams. But um, I mean, honestly, I like somebody like a T Higgins, a bigger body that's not quite as much money as to say like an Ayuk. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd love to see Ayuk take a little bit less money to play with his best buddy. And maybe they're planning for that next year. But the tough thing with NFL is it's all about this year, you know.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you personally. I'm off the trade talks. Like I think we talked about that last week. I don't see how you coming here. I don't see people. I couldn't believe that people saw Jahan Dotson get traded to Philly, bro, and said, "Man, we could go get CD." How?
Oh no,
How,
he got the
bro?
money.
Like,
Man, the money. I don't even. I mean, it's tough for me to if I was a GM to want to spend that much for a number one receiver.
forget
I
that.
mean,
They not trading CD in the division. They
No,
not
he's
gonna
not
oh
do
Jahan
that.
no,
Dotson. He's not
no,
Jahan
not
Dotson.
trade, not trading,
Hell
not
no.
trading, not trading. I'm talking about signing, like paying money, not trading.
I mean, that's the cost of a talented wide receiver. That's the cost of a talented player at a premium position. So it's like the increase of the salary cap is only going to go up. But this is the reason why you have your cap room structured a certain way so that you can make moves of that nature of acquiring a T Higgins or Brandon Ayuk, whether it be via trade or next offseason and free agency. When guys hit free agency, you get paid even more than what you would get as you're already under contract with a team. Like that's the whole point of trying to hit free agency in the way that the CBA is established, especially for a premium talent, is to get paid even more because you've hit the open market. So I don't think anyone should be concerned about the finances of those things because it's not like the NBA where contracts are fully guaranteed. You always got to out in these contracts. But I mean, we'll see what happens. I think that they have a lot of holes going into next off season, possibly depending on we haven't even really spoke on the left tackle situation. We still don't know if Brandon Coleman is going to be playing next week, if he can even play. So yeah, the team possibly has a lot of holes going into next offseason, and some of these things that they're banking on don't come to fruition. Whether it be at wide receiver, left tackle, offensive line overall, cornerback, and pass rusher.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I always, me personally, I mean, every great championship team. I mean, you look at the Patriots. Yeah, they had a great quarterback, but they always had a one of the best lines and a solid defense out there. And I think until we finally establish a solid offensive line year in year out and a solid defense, I mean, I'd rather have a really good defense and a great offensive line with okay to a little above okay skill players around.
Hey, Big E, any last thoughts on the roster cuts or even anything that happened this week that you want to get talk to the fellas about? You there?
I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
one surprise. I mean, I thought them cutting. Yeah, I thought they just surprised that being that the edge room isn't the strongest out there. I mean, and maybe too, maybe on a good note. I mean, we definitely have grown men in the building now. I mean, it could be a chance that we have better players than we think. But I was really surprised of KJ Henry being let go. But what I do like is that they found some really good undrafted free agents. I mean, I've been a huge, huge Tyler Owen supporter since I first heard about him when they first signed him. And I don't know, they made some good finds, but yeah, like I said, the KJ Henry one really surprised me, but I thought Wiley was maybe going to be wide receiver three. I mean, not wide receiver three, running back three. Um, other than that, nothing too crazy. I mean, I kind of did like Martavius Bryant just because he was a bigger receiver, real athletic profile. I mean, I wouldn't mind the team having one of those guys, but we're back to square one with our tallest receiver being 6'2" at best. But hopefully the tight end play can help out with the receiving group. And I mean, I see B Rob and Eckler having probably a bigger season than most people think as far as catching out the backfield. But nothing really too surprising besides the KJ Henry move. That was probably the biggest one in my eye.
All right, big dog. We appreciate you joining. Appreciate you showing some love and calling and chopping up with the fellas. We're gonna go ahead
man.
and
yeah, always enjoy it.
all right, man. Take care, big dog. Let's answer the question about or the comment about KJ Henry though. From Big E. I mean, I think the obvious thing though, when we think about Big E's question with KJ and just the edge depth, is like the fact that how they use their linebackers in general. Like we kind of touched on the hybrid roles from the secondary aspect, but like defensively overall, Frankie Louvu's going to be used a lot as a pass rusher. He's going to be used a lot on the line, and I think we know that, right? But I think that kind of reflects in how they decided to kind of formulate those edge rusher guys, and they actually kept FL Bottom. Now he was on the
He's
pup
on the
list.
pup list.
Yeah, he's on the pup list. So like you got to be careful with how you handle that. But like Jordan McGee, how were they going to use him if he was healthy? But also FL Bada, when he comes back, I think that's a guy. Well, I don't know how he's going to look back when he comes back from injury, bro. But or I don't even know if they're going to cut him when he comes back and he's healthy. But I think that the way that they're going to use these linebackers is going to be just as important as how those edge rushers kind of mix it up.
But that's what I was kind of talking about earlier, Mo. When I, especially looking at the defensive end group, and you just see three guys essentially there. Again, you got two guys that kind of splits time between the DN and the linebackers. Is you're getting a glimpse at what they think about the defense and how they're going to use the defense, and they're going to be guys are going to play all over. Like you're going to see John Allen and Payne probably play DN spots. Maybe even Newton probably play one of those roles. And then you got the safeties that are going to come down and act as linebackers. And you got to think of the Jeremy Chins, even Dominique Hampton, as we mentioned, the guy who switched positions. But I don't know how much playing time he's going to get as a rookie, but just kind of how they use their guys. So you're thinking about a hybrid defense in a sense, because going into cut day, I thought they were going to keep one of KJ Henry or Andre Jones. I said one of those guys are going to make the team. Then you see both of those guys get cut, and it's like, okay, you can kind of see what they're doing, as you alluded to, Mar. They're going to be playing some of those guys like Frankie Louvu's going to he's going to be playing at the edge sometimes. You're going to have Jamin that can come down and play at the edge. Obviously, Dante Fowler is probably going to be the number one guy up at that one of those edge spots. So yeah, right now, as I see it, I think they're going to, a lot of guys are going to be kind of interchangeable. And it's almost like the defense that Ron wanted to create, but he didn't create, position flex. Like this is a real position flex. Like you're going to see a lot of guys flexing at different spots. And I think the most important thing is you're going to see a lot of speed on this defense. And that's what I'm excited about the most about this defense. Like those guys like Frankie Louvu and them coming off the edge. I mean, those are speed guys. Even the safeties kind of playing in the box. I mean, these are guys that can go out and play a coverage, but you're going to be having those guys playing run support. They're going to be able to cover these tight ends. So I'm getting kind of excited about the defense, whereas we kind of got these question marks about the offense and how certain guys are going to be used on the offense and guys are going to help Jaden Daniels. The defense is really intriguing to me because you're going to see that speed. You're going to see that versatility amongst a lot of the guys. You see the plan, or at least you see the vision of how they want to use these guys.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how Joe Witt Jr. Utilizes all these different guys within the front seven, and also how the back end is going to hold up. I definitely expect him to apply a lot of pressure, a lot of blitzing, a lot of stunts. I think I'm probably almost more excited of seeing that than even seeing Jaden Daniels week one. I think that Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn, as far as their masterminds defensively and trying to create havoc and getting these turnovers, haven't even really been able to get into their bag yet. And especially if Johnny Newton can play now you add in even more depth at that interior pass rush position that you can move all around. I think Johnny New can also play some DN in some packages, like you mentioned, Luvu also being a pass rusher, Jeremy Chin, shooting up the A gap. Like I just think that there's a lot of things that they could do and that they haven't even been able to get into their bag yet. So I'm excited to see, what comes from that. But a lot of people don't like the word of versatility or flex, but the reality is that's what the NFL is made up of, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think they got a lot of guys that bring those intangibles to the table, from a Luvu to a Cleveland Farrell, who can play some interior pass rush and outside. Dorrance Armstrong, the same way. Johnny Newland's the same way. Jeremy Chin. Now you bring in a Dominique Hampton, Quan Martin that can come down and play closer to the line of scrimmage. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to make for a great follow-up conversation that we'll have after the week 1 game. But I'm excited for this defense and the pressure that they plan on applying with the lack of a star edge guy such as a Micah Parsons. That means everybody got to get involved. Everybody get an opportunity to get theirs.
So let's kind of close the gap on some of the question marks from. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Close the question marks on some of like the roster because Dan Quinn was speaking and I was able to get some quotes from his presser on Tyler Owens and Colson Yankoff both making the roster. I think we had question marks on Colson specifically. He said, I'd say both of them really had the propensity to absolutely go for it. You feel their intensity, their speed when they play both on special teams and on offense or defense, respectively. At the end of it, you're trying to establish an identity. When you've heard me you're trying to establish an identity that you've heard me use that word before. I think those examples come back up. Speed, physicality, effort, straining. Those are the commander style plays that I thought those two really represented that. He had another quote as well that I'm trying to find. Am I in the right section? Okay, I am. Can I find it? I can't find it. Dang, see, I wish they were consistent with their how they post it. Okay, so I can't find it. But another nugget, since I am scrolling looking for stuff. Ron Rivera from 2020 to 2023. He drafted 33 players on the roster. How many do you think are still on this roster to this day? I'm going to say a number. And because do y'all know the exact number before I give this? Because if I do, then it's no.
I don't.
I think it's 5 off the top of my head. I think it's 5. I know.
Okay.
Cosby,
all right. Hold on. Pause, bro. All right.
Hold on. Do you know, Maul? You know the number?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I was going to give y'all a number, and y'all could guess over or under.
Okay.
So let's say, because AJ, you were wrong, so that's why I can give you a number. So let's say the number is at 11. Do y'all think it's over or under the number of Rivera drafted players that are currently on the roster?
Over,
don't look at the chat.
Much.
Don't look at the chat. Don't look at the chat. They spoiled it.
Yeah, I said over, but not by much.
Okay, if you say over, what's your number?
I'm gonna say 14.
14. Okay.
I'm gonna say 12.
He cheating. He cheating.
I mean, how the hell I'm not gonna see that?
But you just said 5.
You know what? I'm about to say it is a little crazy. That's why I was like, don't look
all over the place. Like, no matter what I did, I could see it.
I should have thought about that, bro. Because as soon as I said something, bro, the chat flooded it, bro.
I ain't about to be like, Dre, yeah, I see 14. Nah, I see 12.
I ain't look.
Okay, so Dre, you really ain't look at the chat, bro?
I didn't look. I would have said 12 if I looked.
I would have said 12 too if I was Stevie Wonder. If I was Stevie Wonder, I would have been like 12. I would have been like, yeah, 12.
Oh man, a 12 left on the roster. Oh Lord, that is terrible. He said
That
if
was
we
12
go
out of
8,
what, 33? You said 12
out of 33, man. Quote unquote from September 2023. If we go 8-1 this year and he fires me, and next year we win the division and 40 of the 53 players we drafted is and it's the same quarterback, I'm vindicated. Send me my Super Bowl ring.
Send him his Super Bowl ring.
Send me my Super Bowl ring,
We're gonna
man.
send him an ass whooping. That's what we're gonna send Ron Rivera, man.
Hey, bro.
Hey, guys! Next week we got Ron Rivera on the show, so y'all pull up.
Oh Lord Jesus! I know the first question I'm gonna ask him. Man, back in September of 2023, you made this one statement to ESPN, and I'm gonna tell you what you said if you don't remember. Okay, I think we're good, bro. I think we're good. Am I missing anything? Oh, cornerback. Do we think we're going to? All right, cornerback and wide receiver, because those are the two weakest spots. Because I know AJ don't agree with cornerback, but I think that is one of the weakest spots on the defense. Do we think they're going to make moves at either one of those positions before the first week, before next Wednesday? I guess is when they start practicing for real.
I'm gonna say yes.
Y'all ever seen that Kodak Black interview with Breakfast Club where he was like, I hope
so.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's my
dog.
answer. I hope so.
Put the ski mask on when you say it.
What do you say? Deluxe, don't shoot me. It's bad. Many of those not here saying leave fit with new regime scheme matters too. I mean I agree. Generally speaking, fit matters. Scheme matters.
To the chat's point, Ron Rivera did give us a quarterback, and he did give us Jaden Daniels. That's Ron Rivera's last gift to us.
But he tried not to. He was actively trying to win.
Oh,
absolutely. He just sucked bad. He sucked.
He just asked. So I mean, couldn't really help that. Almost got us screwed, honestly.
Bro, he wanted that Jets win, bro.
Almost ended up with Bo Nix.
Oh, Lord. He might not be that bad though.
Uh-oh. I don't know, bro. He did get named starter though, right? Look at AJ trying to cut the short. That's the end of the show.
He played good at preseason. He had a good preseason.
All right, man. Hey, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Listen, no all 32 this week. We got some things to take care of. Also, it's Rap B Day, man. So we turn up for the boy. But no all 32 this week. So the fellas will be back next Tuesday. We may have, because I know it's gonna be a bunch of time that's laying over, so I may try and
hurry up, Mual. I just seen Sam Howell's name. Hurry up.
Oh no. Hey, Disco, that man Disco acting up, bro.
Disco loves Sam Howell. That's his man.
Boy, that gotta be his son.
He loves Sam Howell.
Disco be going crazy. He make sure AJ know about Sam Howell every chance he get, bro. That's hilarious. Shout out Disco, bro. But no all 32 this week.
Disco.
We're gonna try. I may try and swing for an interview this week, so we may have like a standalone 20-minute show before we get back on next Tuesday. But either way, that's gonna wrap it for us. Y'all be safe. Enjoy the rest of y'all week, man. Don't get in no trouble. You know what I'm saying? Drink a little bit if you drinking. Eat some good food, all that good stuff. Enjoy college football too. That starts on Thursday too. But we out of here. Peace.
Sir.
Shout out to the